We got someone in the Himalayas who should have been hosting this meeting to one of my partnerships. So I work with the Entrepreneurs Institute, and I should be live to them right now. We're having to use our Zoom instead because tech. So here we are. So what is this about? Why is this important today? Because I really believe in what I sell. I really believe in what I deliver to people. And today is a classic example of when you hold the faith, when you hold the line, when you hold that golden thread between where you are now and where you want to be, when you hold the belief that this is going to happen, things move out of their way, things move out of you, and things come through you. That I really firmly believe that manifestation is about understanding the nervous system first. If I had flapped today, if I had panicked because my Zoom link wasn't working, I wouldn't be connecting with you right now. And this works for a reason, because if any of this is true, then all of it is true. I'm going to talk to you about flow state today. Totally randomly, by fluke, because I should have been somewhere else, right? But I'm here connecting with you. There are no coincidences. There are no mistakes. There are no accidents in this world. I really believe that. And this might be a little controversial, but if you're hearing these words, that's for a reason too. That's for a really big reason too. So listen up. The universe wants you to hear something today. What is it? Shall we find out? So the one phrase I'm going to use here is manifestation is spelt. Energetics. Manifestation is spelt nervous system. And all of these combined, manifestation, energetics, nervous system, is spelt flow. Flow state pulls all of the science and the woo together. It pulls all of the problems with why things go wrong, why we do need to move out of our own way, why sometimes we get distracted, don't we? Oh, I just got distracted because I just knocked a pile of post-it notes off. Went really well. We get distracted from our goals. We get distracted from what we're trying to do. And if I let the energy of today be about my tech, I wouldn't be here giving you what I'm about to give you, which is a 15 to 30 minute masterclass in how to do this for you for free. I did one the other day that was so popular. We had over 110 views. I think we had 136 sign up and 110 people watched it, which is amazing. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. Settle down, stop scrolling, don't minimize me, because I'm going to say some important things and I'm going to give them to you for free. Why? Because this stuff always works. But here's the thing, you do a lot to avoid disappointment. How do I know this? Because I've done it myself. You do a lot to avoid that feeling of shame, of doubt, of fear. You do a lot to avoid looking like a tit. Let's put it bluntly. Let's put this really brass tacks here. You tie yourself up in knots to not fail. Because failure is so scary. Failure is such a worry. Failure is such a bad thing. So what do we need to do instead? What do we need to think about instead? We don't need to think about the shame, the fear, the guilt, the disgust. How do I know this, by the way, in real terms? Because it's what are we at, 20th of September? And I've just had a week where I think we're at about 22k in the last 7 days, something like that. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And these are the sort of ridiculous results you can get when you learn what I'm about to teach you today, which is about flow state, energetics, manifestation, and your nervous system. So what is your nervous system? I'm going to do the science bit. I'm going to give you the science bit, but not now. I'm going to start by telling you a story to reward your brain for being here with me today, to give you some understanding of what we're talking about here. I'm going to reward your brain by making you feel something. I'm not just going to give you information today. We don't just do information. We do transformation and we do integration. Those are the really important bits. You don't need more information. Everyone's got all the information you need is in the palm of your hand. You don't need more information. What you need is this link to how to transform. That's what people have missed. The law of attraction was great, but it missed a little bit out, and that's you. That's here. That's this bit up here. That's your neurology, and I get so excited. I'm such a brain geek. I love the whole thing about how your brain actually drives your body. You think you're a free-willed creature, right? Try fighting your subconscious brain. Try getting in a ruck with your subconscious. Oh, I do need to go to the gym. Oh, but I'm really going to get hot and sweaty and it's really painful. Oh. Whichever voice shouts loudest, conscious or subconscious brain, determines whether you do or don't go to that gym. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. So when we look at whether or not people are able to do what they want to do, when we look at whether or not people are free to actually go and achieve in life, there is a lot to be said for understanding the nervous system first. But what does that look like? Well, whenever we compound emotions, whenever we put one emotion on top of the other, we start to get in our own way. Why? Because we've let our subconscious brain drive the car. So if you imagine you've got your conscious brain and you've got your subconscious brain, and both of them are in this fight, both of them are in this war about how to get your brain working, how to get your brain moving. And the brain drives the body, emotion drives motion. How you feel, what you think, determines what comes out of your feet. You can have all the strategy in all the world, but if you're not feeling the right feelings, you won't do it. I know, I've self-sabotaged for years before I learned this trick. It's amazing. It's actually amazing how this works. So when we think about how our brain runs our body, I'm going to tell you about a time in my life that was so painful to me, and I was so stuck. I was so stuck in a place that I thought I should. Do you ever do that? You ever should all over yourself? I should be happy. I should be living my best dreams. I should be grateful. Why am I not more grateful? Beat myself up every week for that for about 9 months. Because I had this big shiny job. I had this big shiny car. I had 2 big shiny houses, not even just one. High achiever here. 2 big shiny. And then I had this big shiny addiction to smoking. I had this big shiny addiction to getting drunk every night to numb the pain of being so unhappy with a life that other people envied. The irony was huge. I was living the dream, literally living in the city of London, in Greenwich Blackheath, for those of you that don't know, hugely expensive area to live in, beautiful little bars and village life and, you know, glorious lifestyle on the surface. And yet my feelings, my emotions were causing me to go off the rails. They were causing me to do really destructive behaviours, like smoking. Again, 40 a day. Let's not do this small. Let's go big. Let's drink all the drink and smoke all the cigarettes. Because why? Because I was unhappy, and my subconscious was therefore at war with my conscious brain. It was trying desperately to get me out of pain. It was trying desperately to make me move. It was trying desperately to make me open my eyes and wake up and see it. Did I see it? Hell no. Did I see it when I was then at the stage of getting so drunk that I fell over in the middle of the street and nearly got run over? No, didn't see it then either. Did I see it at the stage where I was with a random guy and realised he was trying to take me back to his house and I didn't want to go, and he was holding onto my arm so tight that I didn't have much choice in the matter? Didn't see it then either. Did I see it when I finally got so ill, and I didn't know you could do this, by the way, when I finally got so ill and I made myself so distressed that it came out as dis-ease. I got diseased from it. I literally was in a hospital with a collapsed lung and septic pneumonia. That was a bit of a wake-up call. Age 26, like that doesn't happen lightly, age 26. So when I had this blinding wake-up call, it came very hard on the heels of another one. So there was a meeting called because my figures had gone down. So I used to be the top salesperson in the company. I used to be absolutely head and shoulders above everyone else to a ridiculous degree. Suddenly my figures started to drop. Why? Because my energetics had shifted. My nervous system wasn't safe. I was fighting my own body. I was trying to desperately do all the things that had always worked for me. And I was saying the same words. I'd pick up the phone and speak to the clients that had previously loved everything I did. Suddenly there was this disconnect, and I became a money repellent. Like, you could not have imagined it was the same person. 1 month's figures like this, next month like this. Same person, same exact strategies, as we said earlier. The stuff that comes out of your fingers is your strategies. But suddenly, it wasn't working. And this meeting was called, and I remember the shame as I walked into that meeting and had them say, the horror, I still remember the exact words, were, "We're beginning to be concerned." And I was this big, high-level titled executive, and I had all the shiny bells and whistles and stomping around with my briefcase. And suddenly, those words put the fear of God into me. And they said, if this doesn't improve, we're going to have to think about funding your business. And guess how much that aligned my nervous system with exactly what it needs to manifest? Yeah, no hope at all once those words had been said. My body went into panic mode. My brain triggered exactly the same neurology as when you see a saber-toothed tiger. So let's just talk briefly about nervous system here, because I promised you a bit of the sciencey stuff. I'm not going to go too deep, don't worry. This is really simple. I'm going to make this really simple for you. I'm not going to show off and use big words because anyone can do that. I don't get any pleasure in being thought to be clever. I get a lot of pleasure in being thought to, oh, she made that really simple and I got it straight away. So I'm going to do exactly that for you now. Imagine two brains. You've got your conscious brain and your subconscious brain. And whichever one is in charge is driving the car. So when your subconscious brain is driving the car, it's based on pre-programming. It's based on stuff that's already happened before. One of those things that's already happened before is you've met a saber-toothed tiger in one of your lives many years ago. You know exactly how to react to a saber-toothed tiger. Your heart gets faster, your vision field narrows so you can see if the tiger leaps at you. You catch your breath with a gasp and then you stop breathing so your ears turn extremely acute so you can hear any rustle, and you increase your ability to hear the low frequency sounds, the grrr that tigers do. Your calf muscles get really tight in case you need to kick it or run away really fast. And your stomach stops digesting food, because what's the point of digesting food if you're about to die? It diverts all that blood flow to places where it's needed, like strong muscles and fast legs. And so all of these responses happen in a pre-programmed way that you don't even have to think about. Same thing happens if you're standing on the edge of the tube platform in London and someone nudges you and you go to fall in front of a tube train rushing in. You throw yourself backwards, don't you? You don't even have to language it. You don't have to think, I do not wish to die today. I shall move from the tube. And your body saves you. Guess what it does in times of stress? Exactly the same thing. Your body saves you. Your body tries desperately to save you, and it does it automatically. Now, here's the thing. There aren't many saber-toothed tigers in Greenwich anymore. And in the city of London, there are 0 saber-toothed tigers. There might be an angry boss, though. There might be we're going to withdraw funding. But guess what? Your body goes into exactly the same fight or flight responses that it's always done, because that's all it knows. That pre-programming is so deep. And this is called your limbic system. This is your oldest brain. In all of the bits of your brain, that's the bit that doesn't have language. So guess what? We just feel things. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say that sick feeling in your gut? That one when you get butterflies, that one when you get that horrible feeling of like, ugh. And when you allow your subconscious brain to run the show, which, by the way, newsflash, 95% of all the actions you ever do comes from your subconscious brain, that is what is happening. Your subconscious brain is making all the decisions based on your pre-programming, based on fear for animals that no longer exist. Awesome, huh? So how do we get out of this? How do we change this? Guess what? I'm going to tell you, because this is what I do. This is what I specialize in. Those of you here in the sisterhood that have been with me for a while know that what I love is the brain geeky bit. Those of you here in the sisterhood that have been with me for a while know that what I love is the brain geeky bit. Know that what I thrill to is helping people get out of their own way and succeed and do it really well. Helping women get to the level of earnings which is thought impossible. It's thought to be impossible, right? Like a 25 grand week. How logical is that? It's not logical at all, right? It's more than I used to earn in 6 months. But that is possible. That is real. That's happening in real time. And some of my clients earn way more than me. I work with some coaches who are doing double or triple that amount as well. So this is what is now possible. This is what we've now got to understand. If you can learn how to work with the woo and with the science, dear God, we get to be so powerful. We get to be so powerful in this day and age. So when we talk about being reactionary to the world around us, to just reacting, we're letting our subconscious brain drive that car. And here's the bad news. Your conscious brain is sat there tapping on the shoulder going, excuse me, I want to go over there. The subconscious is going, and careering off into Death Valley. So how do we do this? The answer, we need to get you back in touch with your neurology. You need to know how to soothe those distressing emotions. You need to know how to run the pieces of your brain that would otherwise be working against you. So when I say manifestation is spelt nervous system, is spelt energetics, all of this together is spelt flow. When you are in flow, something glorious happens. If you change your mind, you can change your body. If you change your body and the way your body's moving, you can change everything in your world. And I'm not over exaggerating when I say everything. Everything can shift in a heartbeat. So I did a bigger masterclass on this, which you can purchase through my website if you're interested in deep diving into this. But what we're talking about essentially is how we manage pain and how we manage distress, how we manage fear, how we manage shame, how we manage guilt, how we manage self-doubt, and ultimately how we manage disappointment. Because when we are so afraid to be disappointed, we never try. When we're so afraid that what we're going to do is going to be embarrassing, we stop. So if you imagine a line, imagine a beautiful like golden thread. We've got the as is, where we are now, and we've got the to be, where we want to go. If you imagine this golden thread is the difference between where you are now, who you are now, and where you want to be, where you want to get to, where that end goal is. That difference is about collapsing that gap as elegantly and as beautifully and as quickly as possible, right? I'm here to help you do that. And I'm here to help you understand how you need to be while you're doing that. Because here's the magic trick. This is the exciting bit. There is a teeny tiny difference between I want and I desire. If you're living in the I want space, you're always in scarcity mindset. You're always in, oh my God, what could I possibly do with my life if only? So we're playing the when then game. When this happens, then I'll feel like this. When I earn, let's say 10k months, that's a figure people seem to attach to quite a lot. When I get to 10k months, then I'll feel happy about my life. When I'm earning this amount, then I'll feel worthy as a human. Now here's the kicker. If we play the when then game, we're always doing in the future. Now your brain knows no difference between the image of yourself eating breakfast yesterday morning, which you'll have a memory of, but it's a created memory now. It's not actually happening anymore. It's happened. So all that's left is a trace, a memory trace of it. And the image of yourself in this mythical future time. Both of them are like a post-it note stuck on the wall. So we've got one post-it note representing breakfast, another post-it note representing this mythical future. Now, neither of them are real. There is only now. And ultimately, now feels like now, doesn't it? But guess what? When you get there, that'll feel like now. And when you were there, that felt like now too. So in a very existential way, there is only now. There's only now. And so if there is only now, if I'm right, which I am, if there is only now, how you feel now actually creates the then. But if you're playing that game of when then, if you're playing that game of when I get there, then I'll feel worthy. If you're playing that game of I'm not allowed to feel those feelings until I've ticked that box, until I've won that game, until I've done this. Now, here's the interesting blend. You've all heard of chakras, I'm guessing. You've all heard of like the heart chakra, the root chakra, the sacral chakra. What's really fascinating is that those chakras directly equal your nervous system. I'll say that again because this is really important. We all think of chakras as being woo, right? We all think of chakras as being the spirituality market, the healers and the light workers talk in chakras. Well, guess what? I'm neuroscience trained. I talk in chakras too. I just use a different word for them. We call them plexus. We have nerve plexuses at those exact locations. So the heart chakra is called the cardiac plexus. The sacral chakra is called the sympathetic hypogastric. Like there's just different words. I use sciencey words. But they actually relate. And imagine this, someone worked that out. Someone came up with the word chakra and the location of them many years before we could medically, how nuts is that? But yet, how perfect. So we've always talked just slightly different languages, but the same story. Manifestation is spelt nervous system. Manifestation is spelt energetics. Isn't that interesting? So the chakras, when we talk about your root chakra, we're talking about the inferior hypogastric plexus. That is a site, that's a location of a load of wires, a load of nerves coming together, and those wires fuse and they fire. So whatever fires together, wires together is the way we think about it. When we send electricity down a nerve, it gets stronger. So the more you feel certain feelings, the more you tweak your wiring, the stronger it gets. And therefore, the more likely it is that your body will use it. So when we project into the future that vision of self that we want to be, and we say, when I get there, then I'll feel like that. Guess what? You can collapse time by feeling like that now. The wiring then gets stronger. It's more likely to then happen. The electricity is more likely to go down that path. So as soon as we play that scarcity game of I'm not allowed to feel like that until I've done this thing, you're closing the gate. Now here's the thing, if the gate is only open to a 2, 2's all you get. That goes for pleasure and pain. Because the universe is both, right? None of us are wandering around spouting rainbows and riding unicorns going, there's no weeds, there's no weeds. We know there are weeds. We just get a bloody big stick and dig them out when we need to feel a certain way or think a certain way. It doesn't mean the thoughts don't come along. It just means we don't live there. So those of us that have figured out how to switch on the tap, how to switch on the flow, remember that word again, it's all about flow. We know how to get things to shift. So I'm a partner with the Entrepreneurs Institute, as I've said. I work with lots of different entrepreneurs. I work with so many different shapes of businesses, digital ones, bricks and mortar ones, people doing cryptocurrency, people turning properties and millions of pounds of investment. It doesn't matter. These are laws. These are rules. These are universal, and you will not be the one person in the universe that this does not work for. I can tell you that. You will not be the one person that cannot make this work for you. But what we need to do to get this working for you is start to stack the expectation. So we need to compound those emotions in a very positive way towards the expectation of it. So that as you look at that gap between who you are today and where you want to be, as we look at this walk in the line, you are already running the neurology for here. Because guess what? It makes it work. It really does. So I've got personal proof of this, and I'm going to tell you this to really impress upon you how much this stuff does work. Because when I did then lose my job, and it was the most painful thing that ever happened to me, and when they took that job away from me, a little bit of my soul died inside. But I'd already started doing this work. So what I did immediately was move my brain to somewhere else. I moved it to the contribution module. How can I contribute outside of myself right now? So I went to work at a cat sanctuary, shoveled cat poo for 2 weeks. And then I had already booked in the diary, no coincidences, as I always say, I had a ticket, bought and paid for already, and a flight to Tony Robbins in Hawaii at this amazing conference called Life Mastery at the time. And so I got on that plane and I flew out there with no understanding of what was about to hit me. And it was in that conference that I learned that beautiful phrase that Tony Robbins always says of nothing has any meaning other than the meaning you give it. And I suddenly realized, what meaning do I want to apply to this? Do I want to make this loss of this job shame, fear, guilt, disgust at myself? Do I want to make it all about that disappointment, or could I make this mean something else? Could I make this be the start, not the end, but the start of whatever I'm going on to do next? And I right there and then in that moment decided to shift my perspective, shift my lens, shift my filter. And guess what happened as a result? My neurology changed. I stopped running saber-toothed tiger module. I started to run excitement and thrill and delight module. And the more I strengthened that, the bigger and stronger those wires became. And guess what happened? As a result, I started doing different actions. I started doing things differently. So I came back from Hawaii ready for a completely different mode of my life. And I started to link this nervous system piece together. The neuropsychology of success is very precise. It's very easy. And I'm going to teach you it. I can teach you it in such a short period of time, because when we get our body working for us, not against us, it feels so different. You begin to fire off with energy. You begin to have this explosive excitement around what you do. And so once I'd figured that out, I came back, I closed up my business, I got a place at vet school. I had precisely none of the qualifications necessary, so I went and got them. And I've still got this beautiful, beautiful memento of that time, which is from the moment when I realised if any of this stuff works, all must work. If any of this stuff works, then all of this must work. And I had this little moment when I was sitting in a photo booth, and I had this flash go off just at the moment where I went, wow. And that's the card that I then carried around with me in Cambridge while I was training to be a vet. And this is the genuine article from that time, a bit scratched, a bit beaten up. But I remember realising that if any of this works, then it all works. And I went, wow. And I'm going to invite you to have this same blinding flash of understanding, because there is a way that you can work with your brain, not against it, and be in this glorious high performance flow state all the time. There is a way that you can get to this elevated levels of performance where we genuinely do get to collapse time. We genuinely do get to live at a level that sounds unreasonable. Like a 22k week is unreasonable, right? But we get to do it anyway. But to do that, you've got to understand how to hold this gap between where you are now and where you want to go, and how to live with that duality, and to remove the doubt, to plug in the module that says, I trust this is happening. I know this is going to work. And I can teach you how to do that, which is really cool.